All right, now we are able to go live. We got it. All right. Now we are recording live. All right. And it's on you, Ms. Durden, our awesome chair. All right, good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Yes, okay, perfect. Good evening and welcome to the J.W. Dobbs Elementary Schools Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind you that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the J.W. Dobbs Elementary Schools Go Team to order at 4:13 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now take roll.
Yes, I'm Sonia Yarbrough. I am the secretary. I will now take roll. Tiffany Reagan.
Present.
Crystal Mans Durden.
Present.
Bailey Dawson.
Present.
Matella Carter.
Present.
Duwan Davis.
Present.
Marcella Lucas. Brianna Spence.
She unmuted to say present, but I think it cut off.
Okay.
But she is on the screen.
Okay, thank you. LaShawn Thompson McGee.
Present.
Jeremy Crane. And myself, Sonia Yarbrough. Yes, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. This team, of course, will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present, and our secretary has informed us that we do have a quorum. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you via email. Please take a moment to look over your agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? I do see one change that needs to take place before we post it online. For the approval of previous, I think we left off the word agenda. I'm just looking at it. Up under the action items for letter B.
I think that's probably minutes instead of agenda, correct? Previous minutes.
For A or for B?
B.
Okay, approval of the agenda. Okay. So the word
So,
needs to be switched to agenda.
Previous minutes for B.
Previous minutes. Okay. Are there any other changes? All right, if no other changes are necessary, may I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I move that we accept. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as written with the changes accepted to previous minutes from last meeting.
May I have a second, please?
A second.
All opposed, please say nay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
abstention? Okay, the approval of the agenda has been done. All right, we will now go ahead and review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. Please take a moment to review these minutes. The minutes have also been provided to you via email. Are there any corrections that need to be made to the minute meetings from last meeting? If there are no corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes, please?
I motion to approve the previous.
A second?
I second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, we now have a motion to approve the previous minutes meeting. We will now move down to our discussion items, which are the 45-day CIP check-in, the strategic plan and continuous improvement plan alignment, progress on the strategic plan priorities, strategic plan update, and the ranking strategic plan priorities. And I believe we will go ahead and turn all of these discussion items over to Principal Reagan.
All righty, and thank you for calling those all out because they are actually all a part of the presentation. So thank you, Madam Chair. I will give me a second so that I can share my screen. Please give me a thumbs up if you can see it. All right, so I will just go ahead and get started because we have a few things that we need to do. But hopefully, if anything is not clear, I can explain it to you, but it should be pretty clear. But this is our 45-day check-in. Basically, we went over some strategic plan items earlier, and I will review those as well. And then we also went through some items for our continuous improvement plan, and I'll just kind of give you some data and some updates and tell you where we are with that. And this is basically the same thing that we just talked about, the agenda. So basically right now we are here, the September to December 2022 Go Team meeting, where we're gonna look at current data and review any updates that need to take place before the plan. So basically we'll look at the actions that are already completed and what data supports that. So I'll share those things with you. So right now we have our, this is the continuous improvement plan. In our plan, we basically put for goals 1 and 2. Goal 1 was literacy and goal 2 was math. We had 3 major goals in our continuous improvement plan, holding bi-weekly meetings to analyze student and teacher data, which is both for literacy and math, implementing small group instruction with the extended literacy block, which we added a writing block because we needed to emphasize writing, monitoring the implementation of Foundations, which is a phonetics program for our lower grades, where those students are learning to read, and providing intervention in reading and math to all students using our HMH platform. Those are goals number 1 and 2 that we had in a continuous improvement plan. And our final goal, which we had 3, is attendance. And basically that is, we are providing monthly incentives for students in classes with perfect attendance, meeting with the care team, the SAC, which is the Student Attendance Committee, to identify students with attendance concerns, holding family engagement activities, and providing incentives to communicate attendance expectations. All of these things, I don't know how to go back, but let me see, I think I can hit escape and go back. But everything that I've named, we've actually been doing, and these are our check-ins just to kind of let you know where we are. So here's our copy of the strategic plan that we discussed before. If you can see this, so we have our strategic priorities, which is academic excellence, which kind of go with our APS 5, creating a culture of staff support, equipping leaders and empowering staff, creating a system of school support. And our strategic priorities that we mentioned here: increase the proficiency in literacy and math, increase STEM integration, increase daily average attendance, increase staff capacity in data analysis and usage for instructional decision-making, increase staff capacity in literacy instruction. And based on these priorities, we had strategies that align to each one. So you can see that we have strategies from the Rollins Center. We have been working with them. We discussed the Rollins Center last time as having some small hiccups, but hopefully we've filtered those out a little bit, and I'll talk more about that later. Utilizing small group instruction, which you heard me also say was in the school continuous improvement plan. Engage in monthly STEM professional learning and planning, which has happened. Utilize the care team and attendance committee to coordinate supports for student absences. This is also in what you just saw me say that it's also in the continuous improvement plan. The care team and the attendance committee meets every Thursday and implement an attendance incentive program. And so we celebrate attendance every day, intercom, announcements and certain trips and all of those. So we'll talk about those a little later also, but those things are happening and is aligned with the continuous improvement plan. Staff engagement, biweekly data meetings, leadership, instructional staff support to support lesson planning and implementation, and instructional staff engagement in the Rollins Center. These are all the things if you go across, they are aligned. The gray strategies go with the part up here with the data. And like I said, they're all aligned to the APS 5. And these are the strategies here aligned with the priority for attendance. And for the following, the last 2 priorities, these are the strategies here. Do you all have any questions about that? Because we talked about that before. And everything that we put in the strategic plan was in the continuous improvement plan. So with that, so that you all know that the DOE basically gives a outline of what the schools may need. And so right now, just so you'll know, this is just FYI information only. And I am going to show you some data, some good data and some data that's just so you'll know what's happening. We have been identified this year on the CSI list for the DOE. And basically it is an average ranking from the last CCRPI data report, the spring results from school year 2018, 2019, and 2022. And it's basically about content mastery, which is proficiency. And just so you know, so I started as principal year 2019, 2020. The first year we had the pandemic and went out in 2020. So this particular year when we had the milestones, I was assistant principal. And this particular year was my first year. We didn't have a test because we went out for COVID during my first year. And if you notice, you don't see years 2020 and 21. Those are additional years we were in pandemic, quote unquote, and we had no milestones. So we technically haven't had any milestones since 2019, which was my first year here. This was actually the spring of my AP year. Let me see if I can go, hold on 1 second. Let me stop sharing. Let me go back. Hold on. Trying to. Okay. My apologies. Okay. Can you all see? Can everybody see?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I was saying, long story short is we've missed 2 years here. These kids were pandemic and we've had 3 years where we haven't had a test. However, the state calculates the last times that you had it. So we've only had, under my principalship, we've only had one milestone test, which was this past spring. And so, but what the state does is still go back way before the pandemic and calculate those things. And I will say, we've already been talking about, even when we presented data before, where we were, that math proficiency was a focal point of ours. However, our students are growing. So I do want to show you our MAP data. Give me 1 second. It's on a different. Just take a moment, and if you could look at that, this is our winter administration for MAP, not milestone. MAP, for those of you who are not familiar, and we've talked about it before, but it is an indication or a predictor for what we may do on the milestones in the spring. And I will pause and let you kind of see what's happening. So what you basically see is the red, for those who don't know, is beginning. And we have a progressing here in orange, have developing in yellow, we have proficient in green, and exceeding in blue. We are trying to get to green, but this is just a snapshot of where we are, and this is reading. So we want to decrease the red and increase the green and blue.
Ms.
Yes.
Reagan, this is DeJuan Davis. Could you tell us again what those are? You said the red is beginning, the orange is progressing, and what's the yellow, the green, and the blue again, please?
Developing, and MAP has it differently, proficient and distinguished. Green is proficient and blue is distinguished. We'll actually combine these. These are both pretty much beginning, even though milestones only has red, yellow, green, and green, but we pretty much say these are both below. So if you could look at this and see red and the red and the orange are where we're trying to move kids from.
And what is the yellow? I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Developing,
Okay, thank you.
and this is math. And so what I am going to show you is our tested grades. So we know that kindergarten, first and second don't take the milestones. So I want to show you, I'm going to show you some data that gives you a comparison from where they were in the fall and where they were in the winter for our tested grades. But I also want to, and that's proficiency, but I also want to let you know where they are growing as well. So just stay with me. So this is third grade. So as you can see, this is all this school year. So when I first came to, we had, I showed you some fall map data, but we've since taken another map at the end of November, early December, or probably all of December. So as you can see in the fall, we had 62% in red in the beginning, and you see the goal is to decrease. We've had a small decrease, so which also pushed it up to development. We want to push them closer this way. And then we have an increase in proficiency and distinguished. And so the colors are a little interchangeable. Ms. DeJuan, the green of here, the dark green here is equivalent to the blue on the map, but it's the same information. But we do want to increase the green. We see we're lower in green. And what the state looks at is the green, which is proficient, or the content mastery, what I talked about. So while we are growing, our green has to grow also. And so we're trying to put some things in place for that. That's third grade reading. This is third grade math. This is from August to our last administration in December. So we have some areas where we have gone in the other direction for that. And however, we have increased decreased the developing, but we've also decreased the proficient, but this is where we need to go in the other direction. So for writing, this is something that we're focusing on because of the writing data from last year. We pretty much made sure that's why we extended the literacy block. As you can see, most of our students, we are actually really focusing on these areas of improvement here for transitions, focus, and development of support. But this test just was taken in October, and now we're diligently making sure that we work on these. So hopefully when we take this assessment again, this was actually from a right score test and not the map. We'll take this test again in January and hope for these scores to improve as well. But this is somewhat of an indicator too from some things that we need to see on the milestone. So we are working on that, and I'll tell you about that as well. This is fourth grade reading. So we're focused on trying to decrease this. So I will say we have a teacher on maternity leave in 4th grade, and we put our master teacher leader in there. So there was a sub in there for a while. So we have but not all, is just one class. We have 2 math classes. And this is in totality, but there are 2 of them. But we have increased, we went from 12 to 14, but we still need more green. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer in there. I'm sorry, this is reading, but that's for math. Actually, and one of our reading teachers went out as well. So we have had a personnel situation on 4th grade, and we are rectifying that. We're working on that. And some of the supports that we need to put in place in there as well. So 4th grade math, like I said, we do have a master teacher leader in there to kind of undergird our teacher that's on maternity leave, but we are making small gains, decreasing this way in the red, and also increasing the green. We've gone from 6 to 12, which is good because we want to increase the green. So we take this test again, like I stated, in May. I'm sorry, in March. This is March. Milestones is in May. This is the writing for 4th grade. And what we also found is that transition down here where it says areas for improvement for transitions is an area that we're working on school-wide. So we have since given writing teachers anchor charts to make sure that that is something every time they go in a classroom, they're working on transitions. You know, whatever their areas of improvement, we tried to hone in those on those things. And like I said, the writing test is again in January. So we are working on the writing, but reading and the writing go hand in hand. So we're trying to hone in on those things each and every day to account from some of the learning loss from the couple of years that have been interrupted. This is 5th grade. We just hired a teacher in reading in 5th grade, like about a month and a half ago. I think when our last Go Team meeting, we talked about, we just had a new teacher in that position. And so we are working to build her capacity. And we do have another teacher in there. We do have a slight increase in the red, but we also have an increase in the green as well, which is the direction we want to go, but we still have lots of work to do and to increase the capacity in that room as well. I'm sorry, on that grade level. And math, an increase slightly and a decrease in green. So you can see we have lots of work to do. Here also, no excuses, just telling you we have one of our math teachers has a family member that's ill, absent a lot. So we're trying to put in different things in place to make sure they get everything that they need. But we are also working with the learning loss as well. So we are working on that and their writing piece across the board. And you'll hear me talk about on one of the next slides is basically pretty much their workshops that we're putting in place. So writing workshops that each grade level are having, so that when January comes and we take the writing assessment again, then they'll have it. And this will also help better writers or better readers and vice versa. And again, as you can see, transitions again is an area of improvement. So that's one thing that we're focusing on school-wide to make sure they know how to transition and write their paragraphs. I'm going to go back to the other.
Ms. Reagan, this is DeJuan Davis. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
The data that you just showed us that compared fall versus the winter for that data, I know that we gain new students and some students leave and there's a transition, but do we have a comparison like where those 4th graders were 3rd graders last year? Like, do we have the 3rd graders, their data from the previous school year versus this school year so that we can see if it's, you know, if it's trending down from the previous year, if it was just a dip from last year? Like, do we have that long-term information available?
You're talking about, so if a child was in 2nd grade, where were they in 3rd, following that the children and not the grade? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, we don't, I assume that it would be harder to try to do that per student, but just as a monolith, how we're looking at third, fourth, and fifth graders now, do we have that third grade data from last year and that fourth grade data from last year and fifth grade from last year, just to see? Of course, we know all of those same students may or may not have been there, but just curious to see if what the trend was last year versus this year, if we were trending up or if we were trending down, or if we're just really staying the same. Does that make sense?
I would have to pull that.
Okay.
But that was like I stated, our first year back in from the pandemic, so to speak, full time. And then that was their first milestones. Just FYI. But I would have to go and pull that together and see if I could pull those years for the previous years. So the also what you also brought up was a good point, is that you are comparing different children. So when you compare third grade to last year from third grade to this, but I understand what you're saying, just to kind of see what the trend was. We are comparing different kids because this third grade is a different grade level from the previous third grade level. In addition to that, we've also switched personnel based on some of the data. So, but yes, I can try to pull that for you to kind of see if what the trend may have been going backwards or forwards or what have you. But we do know that there was a lot going on. We know that the last couple of years have happened, and we're just trying to get, find our leeway and our balance in there to make sure that the kids are successful. Now, what I will say is that before the pandemic, kids were already struggling with some things, and we were still growing children. While we still we're working on that proficiency piece, which we have to do some things internally, which we are doing some things internally. We have to, we are still growing kids. So I want to be clear about that. So let me show you some growth information for that. So this is the same test. While the proficiency is where we need help, the kids are still growing. So based on the goals that they set in MAP, we had in the area of 50 to 59% growth. The teachers receive stars on their doors to say, hey, keep going, keep pushing. These classes, we had the 2 fourth grade classes, a third and a fifth grade class in these subject areas of students that met their goals in those subject areas. And this is per class. So we had 2 math classes. We had both math classes made at least 50, 54, 55% growth. But like I stated, while they are growing, we still have to get the number of kids that need to work on proficiency, if I'm making that clear. But I didn't want to just show the bad without saying, there are some things happening, but we're trying, as we're making incremental gains to show that we're growing as well. It's the 60 to 69% growth area. Those teachers and classes receive stars. Kindergarten, in their math and reading fluency, they're doing a great job. First grade, we had 2 first grade classes that met and exceeded their goals or their growth goals in those subject areas, and a 4th grade reading class and a 5th grade class as well. We had 70 to 79% growth in 2 kindergarten classes, 80 to 89% growth in a kindergarten class, and all of these are separate classes. I'm sorry. And you don't see, I don't know, I can't see, but there's 190, 100% class in kindergarten. So while we are, like I stated, proficiency is what the state measures, and that's what we are working towards, but the kids are still growing. Before I go to the next slide, do you all have any questions? Are you talking to me, Mr. Juan? You're on mute. You're on mute, Mr. Juan.
Sorry. Do we have any, thank you. Do we have any feedback from the teachers or any of the other administrators about their thoughts on this data? Like, do they have any thoughts on the development? And I see that we are seeing some growth for sure, but do they have any thoughts on things that they think that are working, things that they don't think are working, or any suggestions on things that we could do to improve some of those numbers?
So one thing that I'm actually getting ready to discuss is one thing that we have noticed And I will let the teachers on the screen, Ms. Thompson McGee, Ms. Van Thurden, and Ms. Spence, I believe she's still on. I will let them give you what their thoughts are. But one thing that I know is we have to, let me talk for leadership, and I'll let them speak for teachers. While they are planning, we're trying to do a better job based on data of monitoring. So we give tasks, we want to make sure that we do monitor, but we want to have a better frequency of making sure that we monitor, inspecting what we expect. So here's the expectation, and we having more checkpoints. So sometimes we get caught up so many times, and you have maybe not enough checkpoints. So that's something that leadership is doing differently. I actually just had a meeting with the staff on yesterday that we, when we come in 2023, the expectations are going to be higher. We have to dig a little bit deeper to do some things a little differently, because we have the right things in place. We have people coming in to support, but we have to do our part and make sure that we are doing things with fidelity. Leadership, we have to monitor and make sure we are, providing them with everything that they need. So that's one thing that I'm committed to. I will let Ms. Van Thurden, Ms. Thompson McGee, or Ms. Spence speak on what they see as well. Ms. Van Thurden, can you speak on that for me? And then I'll get Ms. Thompson McGee.
What was the question again? I apologize. What was the question?
Ms. Dewan, can you repeat your question?
I was just asking for feedback on, I was just asking for feedback on the, your thoughts on, I guess, where we are now, what's working, what's not working, or if you have any ideas on things that we could do to improve our numbers from a growth standpoint.
Well, as Ms. Reagan shared, the students are actually growing. We are seeing growth. It's not where we want it to be in the area in the proficiency, but we are seeing that growth, and what we're doing, just continue to do what we're doing right now in the classroom.
I can speak to that also. We do have our class sizes are very small here at Dobbs, so I can say that that helps a lot with being able to pull small groups and be intentional with our small groups. But there are some other things based on the conversation that we had with Ms. Reagan on yesterday in our meeting that we plan to do differently in January to try and move our students a little bit more than what we have been doing. And that's going to take each teacher, each person, everybody in the building needs to touch a child in some form or fashion, so that way we can move the numbers better than what they are now. Because even though we are seeing growth, we know that our students can grow even better than what we see on the screen. So just being intentional with our learning. And we do have a lot of new teachers as well in the building. So I know admin has been trying to work with a lot of her support systems, her master teacher leaders, and we're in the classroom. So hopefully that will help. But outside of that, with the other teachers that need the support, maybe we'll be able to fill in some of those gaps with the support that is coming into the building to help us, so that we'll be able to touch these teachers touch the teachers that we used to support as well.
Ms. Spence, can you share, please? You're very muffled. Say something else. Take it off and let's see how that works. Take it off. So you can type it, and then I'll let Ms. Yarbrough speak because she's also in the classroom. Ms. Yarbrough, would you like to share? And you can type yours in the chat, Ms. Spence.
I know that for me, it's very important that our children are here, because here and on time. So with that being said, that's the first piece that we're really, really working on. We still have some struggles with that, but we're working on that, because our day starts right at 7:45, and It's so important for all of our children to be here on time to get everything they need from 7:45 all the way until 2:35, because we go until 2:35. So for me, I think attendance is a big deal, and we're working on that.
So I think Ms. Spence put something in the chat. She's saying compare third. No, she's asking about feedback from Ms. Spence from the teacher's perspective. And although we are seeing growth, what as a feedback from the teacher, what are you seeing to help the scholars moving forward from the teacher's perspective?
But what she put in the chat, that was my original question. And yes, you're right. That was my follow-up question.
Right, and I said I needed to go with the original question. I needed to go back and pull that because I don't want to give you erroneous data, because that would take some disaggregating on my part to be able to
Right.
be accurate. Yeah, so that's why I moved past, because I had already answered that for you. I get that, but I can give you that. But I just can't pull that out at the moment right now.
No worries. We're good.
Yeah, so that's what she was saying.
And Miss Davis, just to make one more comment about I know for myself and my grade level and some of the other teachers I've been speaking to in the building, we've said that also next year next year I'm saying in 2023 in January, that's going to help us a lot too. We're going to try and make our parents a little bit more accountable to help us out, because we are given 110% in the classroom, and then when we send home the homework, it comes back empty. Or if we ask the parents, hey, can you read? So I know we have these parent teacher nightly meetings and stuff, quarterly meetings, to let the parents know where the kids are falling on their data, but we also need to kind of have some accountability for these parents, like, hey, we need your help because this is where the child is, and we need you to read nightly to your child, ask your child questions about the book, ask your child to write a story about whether they like tacos or hamburgers better. Like, we just need some more support at home, because just what we give here isn't working for our scholars, because they need a little bit more.
Ms. Spence stated that she feels that there isn't a lot of follow through with many initiatives and ideas. The data meetings are not bi-weekly. Students' attendance needs improvement, but it can't be all on the students' parents. Oh, on the students. Parents need to be held accountable. She also stated we need more educators in the building to achieve what we really need to do.
And I can comment on that. I will say that there are a lot of initiatives in the APS. And that is something that I'm constantly trying to fight with my associate superintendent, and he also agrees. There are a lot of things that they're asking our teachers to do that sometimes, in the lack of better words, you know, it's basically say you can do a few things right, but it's hard to do a lot of things well. And so we've been working with our associate suit to kind of streamline some of those things so that the teachers are not overwhelmed, because they can only give and focus on what they can give. So we're just trying to make sure in the best way possible we do what we're supposed to do, but at the same time, try to make sure we are focusing, keeping the main thing. In terms of the data meetings not being bi-weekly, that is the intent. However, our schedule, like she stated, you know, we need more educators. Our schedule, based on our budget, we had to cut staff. And so we do need more people on board. So hopefully when we get some more money on next school year, even I'm still hiring as well. I have only 3 positions, but one is a special ed position, and one is a para position. So just one teacher position. I still don't feel like one position will assist, but we do need more boots on the ground as well. And we're constantly trying to do, she's talking about parents being accountable. There's really no way other than to continue to do the family engagement pieces to hold parents accountable. We just have to continue to work with them and do what we can to try to make sure that they're doing what they can do to help us. And I think I kind of addressed all of those things. If you all don't have any more, I will go ahead and move on with the slide. If you have anybody have any more comments on that?
I do. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to talk y'all to death. This is the one again.
Go ahead.
Oh, 2 questions just to follow up with the parent accountability, I know two of you mentioned that. What does that look like to you all? Because I know, of course, we can't control people, but what does that look like to you as far as holding the parents accountable? Like, are you looking for them to sign off on homework, or what are your thoughts on that? Like, how can we make that work from a parent standpoint? Like, what does that look like to you?
Outside of, I know, Ms. Davis, I could speak directly with you because I've had you as a parent. So it's different speaking to you because not all parents would be like you with doing homework and going over it with the child. So my expectation as a teacher right now, being in the classroom, if I've gone over something in the classroom with a student and I send it home for homework for a review, or even if I send home something that we reviewed on last week, the first expectation is to do it. Not having the excuse of I didn't have time, I had to work. I get it. Like, I understand life happens. However, our scholars still have to be educated and they still have to learn and they still have to practice. And I do understand that some parents don't believe in homework. So even if it isn't paper pencil, it can still be a thing of make your child read a book for 30 minutes and then ask them questions about the book to make sure that they're comprehending what they're reading. So it doesn't always have to be paper pencil. That's just that's what I feel should be accountable. If I ask the parent to do something to help me help their child, help me help you, help me help us win.
And I guess for me, Miss Davis, for Miss Yarbrough, I know for me, I'm going back to attendance. It's all about having your child at school every day. You can't miss 30 days in the first semester and expect to be successful. You have to be here, and you have to be here on time, because we're ready to give them what they need, but they need to be here in order to get it. So, and the kids can't get themselves to school. The parent has to do that. So that's what we mean by being a little bit more responsible and holding parents to it. We need the kids here.
So, I'm sorry, it's Bailey. I'm gonna add in kind of from a couple of different perspectives. I know I'm a community member that's invested in all of the Atlanta community, whether it's your area or the west side of Atlanta or the south side. And as a someone that spent 12 years in the education system, I can really understand where the teachers are coming from. I think we have to substitute parent accountability for community accountability. Every parent is not going to be the same. Every parent is not going to have the same outlook on education. I mean, truth be told, realistically, there are a lot of parents that look at school as daycare, right? You go here, I go to work, and you come home, you should learn something. And it's not on me, it's on the school. We have to rally around the community. And the community has to support the school. So it is difficult. It is a balance. I think we need to look at how do we rally the community together, not necessarily education focused, but community focused. And then those kids that can't get to school, there'll be another parent in the community that's willing to take that kid to school when that kid can't get to school. Or, there'll be kids that are willing to go home together and read that book together. I think collectively we have to stop relying on individual parents, because all parents aren't made the same. And that's just realistically speaking. So what we need to do is look at building a community base, and Dobbs being the center of the community, but the focus being the community. And bringing those people in, those small businesses around the community, those people who know the families or whatever, and get them collective together and help them understand that the school can't do it alone. And unfortunately, that's the misconception with a lot of parents, that you send your kid to school and your school is going to make and mold your kid. That's not the case. Right? We're supplementary to whatever you're trying to produce at home. We're trying to help you make your child a better person, but it has to work both ways. So I think going forward, we need to look at changing that terminology from parent accountability to community accountability. And let's all as a community put our hands around these kids and see collectively what can we do to change the narrative around learning and education.
I want to piggyback off of Mr. Dawson. So we don't have it on the agenda. However, we had 2 community events today. And I will say that both of those community events went really well. So I believe just to piggyback off of that is a great start. So I'll have it, I was going to put it on the next agenda because we had to turn the agenda in so early, and that particular event, the Real Men Read today, slipped my mind. We had over 20 men in the building reading to the scholars and just really, really enjoying. And they had activities, asking questions. They had a training, a mini workshop prior to them going into the classroom. And it was a very, very experience. It was great to see. We're going to send some things home just to kind of let parents know how that went. But as he was speaking, we had at least 30 men in the building or more. What we could probably do is expand that reach and have some of those men that were in the building maybe adopt 2 or 3 kids, maybe preferably boys. I don't know, it could be girls, but maybe have them have some continual support. And like I say, because they are willing to come back. Everybody who came today stated they wanted to come back. So that's something we can probably work on as well, because they were impressed. The kids had a great time. The afternoon piece, we have Morningside Baptist Church as a community member, and they are actually reading buddies. And they had training from our instructional coach today around reading, on how to have effective reading instruction when they get their buddy. So they will be paired up with someone. And it was approximately about 30 or 40 of those Morningside Baptist Church members. So I believe we have started some things. We've actually started with our family engagement activities when we've had them to have academic goal setting. And they've come out, but definitely it's just that one event they come out for, but we need some continual, like Mr. Dawson stated, just that continual piece. So we know Morningside is just now they just had their training today. And so I know that'll be going forth, but we'll actually try to get those things in for the men and also for some of the young ladies as well. So we'll probably do some type of reading program, not just with the men, but for the ladies, and let them adopt some. And hopefully we can start to get that community effort as well. And to answer Ms. Spence's question in the chat, the truancy officers start in middle school. We do have a social worker, and the social worker, the attendance committee does a great job. They meet every single week on Thursdays, and they do lots of home visits. If there are more than 10 days consecutive absences, they are withdrawn from our roles. However, let's say a child is absent, like Ms. Yarbrough stated, 30 times. If we count, let's say from day 1 to 9, let's say they come to school on day 10, their counting starts over. They can miss day 4. We got to start over at day 1. They can miss 5 days. You got to say it has to be 10 consecutive days before we're able to withdraw them. So a child can really miss a lot of things. So I've actually had a meeting to get chronic attendance parents here. We had 2 show up. So we got to go back to the drawing board. So probably 2 out of 20. We got to go back to the drawing board with that. So right now we're sending certified letters to chronic absences, parents. So we're trying different things when things don't work, just to make sure we get these babies in, because we know in elementary school, they don't drive. So it is up to the grown people to get them here. But like he said, we'll have to figure out a way to have a community assist, but then, we have to go through background checks and all of that. But I do like the idea. Are there any questions? I'm going to kind of keep us moving. And did that kind of answer your question, Ms. Dewan?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so moving right along,
Ms. Shepherd, I think she frozen.
I was just saying the same thing. I think it may have knocked her off. Check with her.
My apologies. I don't know what happened. Y'all know technology does its own thing, so I apologize. I'm glad we were able to get back in. Can y'all still see the screen? No, I need to reshare.
I see you.
Got it. All right, it should be up now. So as I was stating, we discussed the continuous improvement plan and the strategic plan priorities. They are all there in we talked about, they have the same components. But what I noticed, and you all can give me more, I noticed that there's not a place in there for frequent checkpoints and monitoring. What progress has been made, staff is fully engaged in data meetings and small group strategies. And it says what evidence that we have our teacher growth data about the progress. But like we know we still need to have proficiency as our measure. And then in the purple, based on available data, are there any other adjustments that we need to make? Ms. Reagan has added, you all can tell me, continuing the writing workshops with the grade levels, continuous check-ins, monitoring and feedback with the teachers. Is there anything else that you all think that we might need to put in there? That we need to add to what we already have? Okay. Is everybody okay with it, what I added here? So I added this bullet here. And I added these two bullets down here. Okay. All right, so what I will do is I will enter those changes into the strategic plan and update that. And I'll have Ms. Yarbrough send you the updated strategic plan. So we'll do that. Do you all have any questions, wonderings, or comments? I think y'all asked for all the questions, I believe, but if you got any more. Okay. So next we'll be preparing for budget development before winter break, but I don't think we're here. We're taking action. We're going to vote on the strategic plan and vote on the ranked priorities. We're going to rank the priorities so we can prepare for the budget. So that's two places we're here. So we'll take action on the strategic plan about what we just discussed. So we're going to rank the priorities, and I'll pull the strategic plan back up. Hold on one second. So let me just pull it back up. Hold on one second. That way you can see it for yourself. Let's see. Pull that way. So basically, do we want to re-rank the priorities? or do we want to leave them the same? And I'm open to whatever, and Ms. Yarbrough will take notes and we will adjust and then resubmit and send you out what we decided on. Based on what we've seen today, do we want to re-rank the priorities? Then we're talking the 1 through 5 here.
Ms. Reagan, can you make it bigger?
Sure.
Thank you. I think it's on presentation. I mean, if you do it in the show, we can see it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I didn't even realize I still had it there. My apologies. Is that better? So like I said, 1 through 5, do we need to re-rank anything?
Can we move 2 down? The STEM integration down? I mean, I know we're a STEM school.
I agree. I agree.
Maybe STEM could be like at the bottom. So since we're concerned with attendance, maybe just move STEM to the last thing. Not that it's not a priority.
I
Would
know we
that
talked
mess
about
up?
attendance, so we need to talk about the new teachers increasing their capacity. So let's move STEM to number 5 and push everything else up.
I mean, that's my suggestion, but what does everybody else say?
I agree. No, I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, so we've all agreed we're going to move STEM integration to number 5 and keep the priorities as literacy and math, attendance, increasing staff capacity and data, and in decision making and in literacy instruction. We'll move everything up and put 5 at the bottom.
We're gonna put STEM at the bottom.
What
right?
about
I would
STEM
move
at the
number
bottom?
5.
I was
up.
about to say, what about number 5? Can we move that up like maybe 3?
I would put that to number 3.
Okay, so 5, move that to 3, and 2, move that last.
Yeah, because the literacy, the staff increases the staff literacy instruction is gonna help with the math, because if they can read, they can do the math. So I would
Okay.
move number 5.
So 5 will go to 3.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put 2 at the bottom and push everything else up.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? Any other?
I have a comment. Can I be heard now? Is that better?
Yes, you're much better.
Okay,
Yes, you did.
thank you. As far as 5 strategies, I see that we have the engagement in the Rollins Center training weekly, but that's just K3. What about the 4th and 5th grade to increase staff capacity in literacy instruction?
You mean as a strategy for
Yeah,
down here?
yes.
Yes, that's here. That's one of the ways. Are you
Right,
saying-
do we have a strategy?
You want to
Isn't there a strategy for 4th and 5th grade?
That's what you're saying. Identify a strategy for 4th and 5th grade.
Right.
What do you want that strategy to be?
Don't we have a strategy?
We are-
Aren't we doing training right now, Ms.
Yes,
Spence?
we're doing small groups. We're doing capacity training in the small group instruction. That's school building. That's literacy, math, K5. I'm just, go ahead. Tell me what are you, outside of, we're talking about the small group instruction, making sure we do the, making sure we're following up on the data meetings.
What's the AIMS training?
AIMS is 4th through 5th.
It's
that's
just writing.
So we can add AIMS on there for 4th and 5th. You're talking about for the literacy instruction, right?
Yes.
So we got the AIMS training, we have the writing workshops that are taking place.
That's not enough, Ms. Spence?
I'm just saying that's just for writing. I'm just saying literacy in general. What are we doing about our teachers knowing how to address our kids and their deficits as in the literacy? Because I mean, writing is one thing, but that's just 30 minutes out of your block, honestly. I mean, yes, we integrate writing into our reading blocks, but they can't write, they can't read.
But they are struggling. They're struggling. I will say we have to make sure that we are, one of the things I can add in here as a strategy, if you all would like, is the continuous goal setting. Is the students and the teachers being more, taking more ownership of their data, which is one of the things that we have to do. Because all while we're in our PLCs and we have content specialists coming and we have support coming, the students need to know where they are and where they're going. But not only the students, but the teachers need to have, they go over the data, but just making sure they're focused on those individual personalized incremental gains and looking at the data, seeing what domains need to be worked on and putting those into the small group, which is here. That's inclusive of all of that, but we can spell it out if need be. So for me, will be intense goal setting for students and staff. Would you all like for me to add that part in here as one of the strategies? I'm asking. Would you all like for me to add that part in here? I don't see any.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to add though, let me be clear, continuous writing workshops, AIMS 4th and 5th grade writing, and the writing workshops, and then just continue implementation of small groups, which we already have in here. And maybe I can detail out more about what small group entails. Would that be better?
Would that help, Ms. Spence?
Okay. Details. All right, you got that, Ms. Yarbrough? All right. Okay, hold on a second. Let me go back to where I was. All right, we are here. All right, so can I get somebody to motion and we vote on our rank, what we just ranked? The priorities. We will have to, that's something we need to vote on. So we need a motion to vote to accept the rankings as mentioned.
I motion to accept the rankings as mentioned.
I second the motion.
All right. All right, so next, at our next meeting, we'll begin the discussion of the 23-24 budget. You can let me or the chair know if you need any additional information for our future discussion. And that is all for that piece. Madam Chair, it's on you.
You're muted, Nance.
Thank you. Okay, so now we will move on to our information items, correct? Ms. Reagan, I believe it's still your turn.
Hold on, let me get back up on my screen.
That would be the your principal's report. You kind of just did it, the map data, and then did you want to speak on the cluster advisory report?
That would be Ms. Dewan. Do you have anything for the cluster advisory?
I can speak to that. This is Dwan, your cluster advisory rep. We had a meeting with South Atlanta Cluster November the 10th. Your cluster is doing some awesome things. They've had some principal chats. They've done a STEM night. There's been family night. They've done a lot of different things throughout the cluster. We just recently had a chat with the superintendent. I had a previous engagement, so I was not in attendance, so I'm not sure how well attended it was. I know they changed the date. But we also are sticking with, of course, our part of our strategic plan for the cluster, and I'll send that out to you all just to make sure that you all have it, because we have made some updates and just to include all the different things that we've done at Dobbs and the other schools. I am your family community lead, so I have to keep everyone on task to make sure we are doing family engagement. So I may be bothering you all about that later as I'm brainstorming some stuff. We're also focusing on STEM and of course the family engagement and the attendance. And we're trying to figure out how that we can do more things together as a cluster. So if anyone has any ideas of things that we can do, feel free to send me an email and I can mention that information in our next meeting that we're going to have next year. But that is, priority number one, I'm sorry, family engagement. Priority number two with STEM and PBLs. I had to learn that acronym. Thank you for Mr. Reagan. But, and incorporating STEM into all of that. So yeah, it's all coming together. We got a few things in the works, so I should have more to talk about in 2023. Y'all have any questions for me about cluster advisory? All right, that's all I got. On to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much for your report. Now we will have announcements. And I believe we have the spelling bee as well as the science fair.
So these things, so some of our agenda and presentation delivery came a little out of order, but so we've already had a spelling bee. We had 3 winners, and one will be going to the district fair. We had a great science fair. I don't have the results from that just yet, but like also I just wanted to add, like I said, we had an awesome Real Men Read event today, and we've had an awesome orientation of our Morningside partners to partner with us, to partner with a buddy. And I will say, trying to think, is there anything else? Oh, tomorrow I am going to Cascade Skating Rink to celebrate attendance. So I am excited. I believe kids are excited. I've had a lot of students stop me to talk about what they're going to do better next year because they did not know that I was taking the perfect attendance students to the skating rink. So now everybody wants to come to school and they want to say, oh, I was at school at such and such time. So now everybody's pretty much focused. So just, I think those incentives are really, really working as well. And the staff knows that, not just student attendance, but staff attendance is important as well. And last year I rewarded staff for their attendance. So hopefully I'll be able to do that again this year for those staff that come here because we need the teachers at school to teach the children as well. So those are all of my announcements, I believe. We had a holiday program on yesterday. It was a great program. It is now available on YouTube. And we put the link in our class dojo, which is our school communication. That's all from me with the announcement. And Ms. Yarbo, if you could add, if we could adjust the minutes, I guess for this, agenda for this one or the minutes, just add this to the minutes, the Real Men Read and the Morningside partnership.
I did.
Okay.
And I would like to say, as far as an announcement, we have this week kind of been celebrating the holidays. So the morale of the students with all of the data and all of the things that we have to do, the morale of the students and the staff is still very high. Everyone is really still excited and everybody wants to learn. So we're doing a great job here at Dobbs with the morale of the staff and the students. So everyone has been participating. So we've also been doing that. We have 2 more days. Tomorrow, we're just the kids are having their class parties. And on Friday, they'll get to indulge in wearing their PJs. So they're still excited about school. So as long as they're excited, we can still teach and learn. I do believe that brings us to the end of our meeting. We have reached the end of the agenda and covered all items. Is there any additional business at this time? If there isn't, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
A second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, please raise your hand. Any abstentions? All right, our meeting for the JW Dobbs Go team is officially adjourned at 5:21 p.m. Thank you all so much, and you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great break.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, Miss Reagan, you still there? I was gonna say, I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, so you gonna meet us there?
Yes, yes.
Awesome.
Thank
I'm looking
you.
trying to figure out how to hang up the YouTube.
Look, I was trying to get to, I was like, wait, I need to say this. And I was like, okay, yeah, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. And let me know if you need anything from me. I'll wear my dog shirt so I'm recognizable.
I got you. Actually, I'm putting on my Christmas sweater we're wearing tomorrow. The staff has a Christmas sweater.
Oh, y'all fancy. Okay, I'll be festive. Okay.
Okay.
I'll
Have a
see
good
you